a smile, she can wound with her eyes. She can ruin your faith with her casual lies. And she only reveals what she wants you to see. She hides like a child, but she's always a woman to me. Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Got a beautiful song by Billy Joel for you today. We're going to learn how to play She's Only a Woman. She's always a woman. Only a woman. She's always a woman. That's the name of the song. Shows you how I am with lyrics, and you're going to see that in a little bit, because I don't know the lyrics of the song. I know the melody, though. So, anyway, we're going to do a guitar arrangement of this. Obviously, it's mostly on piano. There's some guitar overdubs on the recording. But to really play this in the key that it's in, we're going to put a capo at the first fret. It's a standard tune guitar, capo at the first fret. If you're in Europe, you call it a capo, I guess. But so depending on where you're at, that's how you say it. So let's start here. I'm gonna call out the chords and as they are compared to the capo. So we're treating this like this is these are the open strings. So if I say D major chord, it's where you would play a D major chord above the capo. Okay, because that's going to be the easier way of doing all this than actually calling out the frets of the guitar, you know, whatever. So everything I call out is going to be in relation and relative to the capo. All right, so we have kind of the way he plays it at the beginning, where he goes through the intro chords, which we're going to see quite a bit, and we also have the chords for the first verse, and he just kind of plays them in kind of a block format like I just did. And then he's going to start arpeggiating them later on in the song, and I'll talk about that and what you can do there to make it sound similar. All right, so let's start here with this intro. Oh, please, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button, ring the little notification bell, and check out my Guitar Academy at GuitarLessons365.com. Thousands of people, great guitar community we got going over there. All right, so let's start here with these opening chords. And that's when the vocals come in. So now I'm trying to make this easy to play, as easy as possible. So this little move that we have up here was good. It takes it from a D major chord to a D sus4. It's not the best way to actually play it. To make it sound more like the piano would be like this. But it's a little bit tricky. So I'm just making it easy and moving that line up higher in the chord voicing. So we have a D chord, and then you're going to make it a D sus4 by just adding the third fret. Remember, third fret above the capo here. So just adding the pinky here at the third fret on the high E string. Makes it a D sus4 chord, then go back down to that D, and then an A major chord. And then we're going to go through these chords again, except there's going to be a slight variation there on the second chord. Instead of going to the sus4, you're going to go up to it's actually a G major chord with D in the bass. Now, when I say that, we're obviously comparing it to the capo. Technically, this is not that. It's not a G. So let's move up here to your 3 frets above the capo on the high E string, as well on the B, and then the 4th fret above the capo on the G string. Then you have the open D with it. So that replaced, instead of doing that sus4 chord, we just have that chord, and then everything else is the same. And that's when the vocals come in. We have that, she can kill with a smile, she can chew with her eyes. All right, so that's the beginning of the verse there that I did at the beginning. So that's just that D to A to D real quick. Then you're gonna hit the D, and then do a little bass line in there up the D string. So we have this, hit the D, then hit the 2nd fret there on the D, and 4th fret on the D. Remember, just above the capo. So we have this. And that's going to lead us into a G major chord above the capo. So this is a standard kind of normal way of playing the G. You can see I'm kind of playing this in kind of a piano style. So I'm kind of hitting all the, instead of strumming all the chords, I'm just going to pick it like that so they all sound at the same time. But then we have this a G major 7 chord voicing, which here we're going to try to recreate that voicing that they do on the he does on the piano. So it's like this. All right, so it goes from a G major chord, so normal G major. Then we go to this G major 7. So this is the 3rd fret on the low E, 4th fret on the D string, 4th fret there on the G, and 3rd fret on the B string. So we have, if you are plugging it like I am, where just take the bottom note with my thumb and the other 3 notes with just the index, ring, middle of ring finger, you don't have to worry about muting all those other strings. You can just hit those chords like that. And what we're going to do now, we're going to take this, which is the note that makes it a major 7th, and we're going to move it down 2 frets to make it a major 6 chord. It's really beautiful. So we have, to move just that one note down though, we're going to have to play it with this finger and then move this finger over here. So it's kind of a different fingering. So I have my middle finger there on the low E, that the note on the D string, that 2nd fret on the D is held with my index. And then the pinky gets that note on the G string, and then the ring finger gets the B. So we have this kind of like this little maneuver. So it goes from that G major 7 to a G major 6 and then back to the G major 7. So it's a cool little exercise. You can just leave your pinky there and it's kind of like a guide finger. Give your hands some stability. So we have this G major 7, G major 6, G major 7. And then we go back to the A and a D and an A and an F sharp. So that F sharp is a full bar at the 2nd fret. And we have the 3rd fret there on G string, 4th on the D and the A. All right, so far we have this. An A to D, an A to D. A little bass line. G major 7, major 6, major 7. And an A to a D, and an A to an F sharp. All right, from here, we already have a bar at the 2nd fret, right? So just move every finger down 1 string. So just move everything across, and that gives us that B minor chord. So that's going to be the next chord there. And then all we have to do to get that little moving bass line in there is just basically pick up the A string there. You're barring really so you can get the A string note and the high E string. So you're barring it, and then you just just let go of the A string and just kind of hold that note. Now just move that index over to the 2nd fret there on the high E. So it's just like a B minor with the A and the bass there. And then you're gonna now move the index over. You're gonna still keep these fingers the same. Move this over to the 4th fret there on the, it'd be the 3rd fret above the capo on the low E string. So we have this from that B minor. So there's not a lot moving around. And then to an A. All right. So that's the part that goes, she has like a jet, but she's always a woman to me. All right, so then we're going to go back to really the chords that happened in the intro, but just the first half. First half of the intro, and he starts to arpeggiate the chords here. Now, there's a couple patterns that I kind of use when I'm going through this. For most of the rest of the song, you're going to hear these chords arpeggiated. And some of the arpeggiation patterns are kind of random. So what I like to do is when I'm doing this intro section, which is also kind of like this transition that I see later on in the song, I just kind of do the pattern where I have all of them there ready to go. and I just pick the thumb, index, middle, ring, and then back down to middle, ring. So just kind of. Alright, and then when the vocals come back in, we go through the same verse chords that we did before, but we're arpeggiating it. And now I think over this section, it's kind of cool to just go, instead of going straight up and down, give it a little bit of variety. So the picking pattern that I'm using through a lot of this is just the D, and then you can play the top two strings, or you can play the middle strings with the pattern. But what I like to do is the index, then the middle, and then the index, middle. So index, middle, index, middle, index. So it's a 6-note pattern too. And you can go through the verse chords like that. And then we'll get back to this little transition intro after that, basically the second time through the verse. You can go back to that kind of full up and down pattern. All right, so now after that second kind of time of going through we've gone through the verse a second time where we're arpeggiating the chords, or just that pattern, whatever pattern of those two you want to use. It goes back to the intro chord that we did before, just the first half that we did before, and except for the last chord now, instead of going to the A, so we're basically still staying around, we just go to that D, to the D+4, back to the D, and then what you're going to do is you're going to reach over and grab the 4th fret there above the capo on the A string. And that's going to lead us into the chorus, which sounds like this. Alright, so I'm kind of just humming through it because I don't know the lyrics. But we're going to start here with, after that little change, well, we had that little C sharp in the bass. Well, it's not a C sharp, actually. It's a D on the guitar. I throw myself trying to think of it like this. But we just have a D with the 4th fret above the capo and the A string. Let's just say that. Alright, so we are at that B minor chord again, that little change we did. Alright. So we've done that before, and then we're going to jump to this. So that's going to be the 4th fret above the capo of the low E. From there, we're going to have, you can just play the 4th fret above the capo on the G, and then the 3rd fret on the B string. So those 3 notes together sound great, just doing that little pattern there with them. And then we're going to go to the E7 chord. Now you can play the whole E7, but once again, if you're doing that picking pattern, it doesn't really matter. You can have the low E open, 1st fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B. So we have this. Alright, so far we have this. And then you take it to this, you're really going to be doing a bar at the 2nd fret here a lot. We're going to start with just an A major chord. So I'm just doing that by barring across the 2nd, 3rd, and the B, G, and the D string. So just an A, Then you're going to change the bass note there. You're going to the 4th fret there on the low E. And then you're going to change the bass note to the 2nd fret on the E. So you can just do that by just moving and playing a full bar now. So it still sounds like we just have that A hanging out there. So throw this. And then you're going to take the bar and just move it across 3 strings, the top 3. And because we're going to have the open D, it goes to a D major 7 chord there. So all that was really based around a bar at the 2nd fret. All right, so we have this so far for the chorus. All right, from here we go to the G chord. And like I said, you can choose which, like when I'm doing this little with it, you can choose to do this on the higher pitch strings if you want. So we have this. And then we go back to the full bar again. So that B minor that we did before, which was, the B minor, we always get an A after it. So you're going to do that B minor, but let the bar go all the way across to the 6th string. So now we're going to have this B minor, but we have, 2 frets above the capo. We're going to call it a B minor, obviously we know it's not. And then with a 5th in the bass. So add that note there on the 6th string to the chord. So we have this. So coming from the G to that B minor with F sharp in the bass. All right. Now from there we go to an E minor 7. So that's just really going to be the 2nd fret on the A, 3rd fret on the B, and then everything else open. And then we're going to go to an A kind of dominant sus chord, so sus4 chord. So it sounds harder than it is. From where you're at right now, all you have to do is move the middle finger over to the 2nd fret of the A. 2nd fret of the D string, and then the A string is going to be the root note. So from here to here. So it kind of sounds cool when you just kind of keep rotating between those 2 notes right there. So all right. So from that G, it goes like this. And then we go back to basically the first half of the intro again. Right here, though, we're going to go to, instead of, there's the last chord in it, so it goes D. It's kind of the midpoint of the chorus. D, then the last chord is going to be a D sus2. You get that by just picking up the middle finger. All right? And then that takes us into this section of the chorus. So we're right here after that A sus chord. We're gonna go now to that little intro to that D sus2, and that basically takes us into that 2nd half of the chorus, which looks like this. So it's a D minor chord, still the random patterns with it, and then the bass note, move it to the 3rd fret there of the A string, and keep holding these notes up on top, but now move to the 2nd fret on the A string. So with these top 2 notes you're still holding, that changes it into a G7 chord in first inversion. So don't worry about that. And then just going to take it to a straight G major So I have this. From there it goes to the C major chord. And we kind of do the same thing here. We're just gonna lift up this finger and we're gonna move this finger over to the second fret of the A and use that as the bass tone now. And like those top two strings to kind of keep them going. Then go to an A minor chord. And then an F, which is just that full bar chord we did before, that F sharp major chord. It's at the first fret now, above the capo. So we have this. When I moved over to that A minor and the F, I like to move it, the picking pattern, to the second and third string there. It just sounds better to me. And then from there we have this. So that's a B flat major chord. Now I like to play it with my pinky barred there. Most people don't. So you can play that B flat. It's just the first fret there on the A, and then the third fret on the D, G, and B. You can bar that with just any finger or use a finger for each string. But basically you're going to be playing that B flat major chord, and then as the bass line moves, just lift up and let the same chord with the open A string in the bass. Then we get to that diminished chord we did earlier at the beginning of the chorus, and that same transition to the E7 that we did earlier. So we saw this earlier in the chorus. A long chorus, I know. And then we're just going to end this with an A major chord, and there's a little moving melody. And that, so I like to do that with that kind of full picking pattern there, just on a regular A major chord. And then I'm gonna change the note on the D string to be the fourth fret above the capo, and then the fifth, and then back down to the four. And that takes you back to the verse. All right, so that takes you, after the chorus, you're back to the verse, but this time you're just going to play the verse chords through one time. Now, coming out of that, we have our first, what I call the turnaround section, which is at the 1 minute and 46 second mark. So this is very similar to part of the verse that we heard earlier, and the intro, so kind of combined. So it looks like this. And that leads us back to a chorus again. So let's start here with just the chords. This is when he's humming. We have the D to the D sus4. This starts at the 1 minute 46 second marker after the this really the second verse. So the D, D sus4, D, A, and back to the D, and the A and F sharp. So it's parts of what we did earlier. So and then this is the similar as the end of the verse, B minor, and then that A in the bass, and to the G major 7. And we're going to end up actually going to a full A7 chord. So instead of the regular A major chord we ended the verse with, it's just, let that G string ring open. And then we're to that little transition that leads us into the chorus each time. That chord, you always know you're going to the chorus when you play that. So we have the D to D sus4, D, that little transition chord, and then we're back into the same chorus part again. So the chorus is the same as before, the same chords. which is good because the chorus is very, very long and we don't want to do that again. And then we get back after the chorus, we get to the last verse. And this last verse, there's a tiny little extension that happens in it. It's at the 2-minute and 50-second mark of the song. You'll hear it. So the chords sound the same. So you get to same chords as before. And right here, when we get to this last line in the verse, it continues the bass line. So we have it the same as before with the B minor doing the A and the bass, the G major 7. Then after this G major 7, he's going to add a D, basically a D major with F sharp in the bass, obviously compared to the capo. So that's going to be a bar at the 2nd fret there. So what you're basically doing is bar at the 2nd fret and then 4th fret on the D, and then the 3rd fret there on the B. So you're going to have that note is already part of the bar, and this is the bass note there, the 2nd fret. So that goes from that G major 7 to an E, that E minor 7 chord that we did earlier, and then that A7. Alright, so it's a little bit different ending than we had at our previous verse section. So once again, from that B minor, this is the same. And here where we usually go to the A, but it goes to a D with the F sharp in the bass, E minor, and then an A7. So a little bit extended, just a little bit extra lyrics you needed to throw in there, I guess. And then we get back to the turnaround section again, and it ends the song. And it's slightly different. This is the turnaround, meaning the part where he's humming. Slightly different. Alright, so that's just kind of slowing down towards the end. We get that B minor, A in the bass, that G major 7, that A7, and then the last time you hear it, after that A7, he just strums each chord once, D, D sus, and D. Alright, so I know it can get kind of intense. There's a lot of chords there, especially in the chorus section. But once you get it moving with all those little moving bass lines and stuff, it can sound really, really nice. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.